Never in 40 years of bitter tensions has Iran launched a direct assault on Israel like this, a state-on-state attack that has sparked fears of a wider conflict spreading across the Middle East as the brutal war in Gaza grinds on.
This is the moment Iranian missiles were launched at Israel. As they began to arrive in Israeli airspace, sirens pierced the night sky. Most of the over 300 Iranian drones, cruise, and ballistic missiles were intercepted by Israel's powerful aerial defense systems, and with help from US, UK, French, and Jordanian fighter jets. But a few missiles did break through, causing minimal damage to an airbase and leaving a 7-year-old girl badly injured in southern Israel. In Tehran, regime supporters celebrated the operation, which was in retaliation for an Israeli airstrike on one of Iran's diplomatic buildings in Syria earlier this month that killed several senior Revolutionary Guard commanders. President Biden monitored events as they unfolded with his national security team.
Hey, you guys are the best in the whole damn world, man.
And he called members of the 494th and 335th Fighter Squadrons to praise them for aiding in Israel's defense.
Thank you, Mr. President.
While in another call with Benjamin Netanyahu, the president reportedly told the Israeli prime minister to, quote, take the win for successfully fending off the Iranian assault, and that he would oppose any Israeli counterattack on Iran. And while President Biden continues to insist his support for Israel is ironclad, U.S.-Israeli relations remain deeply strained over Netanyahu's handling of the war in Gaza, where over 13,000 children have been killed in Israeli strikes over the past 6 months, according to UNICEF. And as top U.S. officials, for the first time, have publicly warned famine is spreading across the besieged Palestinian territory because Israel continues to restrict aid.
And with Iran taking its decades-long shadow war with Israel into the open, the Middle East is now at a tipping point as nations around the world, led by the U.S., continue to appeal for restraint. And while leaders here in Israel say they're still weighing their options to respond to Tehran.
Clear. What Iran just did is reestablish deterrence. You see, Israel believed that it could launch a strike against Iran and suffer no consequence. That is no longer the case. Right now, Israeli military officials are looking at the damage done to their bases, and they understand the following: that Iran deliberately chose not to inflict extremely lethal action against Israel, that Iran struck buildings designed to send a signal to Israel, and indeed to the United States, that it could do what it did at Nevatim, at Ramona, anywhere in Israel, anywhere in the Middle East. And there was nothing the United States or Israel could do in response. This is deterrence. This means that in the future, if either Israel or the United States plan on carrying out an action against Iran, they have to weigh in the consequences of their actions, knowing that Iran has the capacity to reach out and touch any place, any spot, any target in the region, in Israel or out of Israel, and there's nothing anybody can do to stop that. This is why President Joe Biden has been on the phone with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, telling him, do not retaliate. The United States will not be a partner in any offensive action against Iran. Not because the United States is friendly to Iran, but the United States understands the consequences that will accrue should such an attack take place. You see, the United States has been deterred against further action against Iran. Now the question is, what will Israel do? Israel has been trying to lead the United States into a larger conflict with Iran for some time now. Indeed, some people have speculated that the Israeli attack against the Iranian consulate in Damascus was designed for just that purpose, to start a spiral of escalation that would ultimately lead to the United States being drawn into a larger conflict between Israel and Iran. But the Iranians were very clever in designing their response, just like they did when they retaliated against the United States for the assassination of Qasem Soleimani back in 2020. At that time, Iran launched over a dozen missiles against the Al-Assad air base in Iraq. Those missiles struck the air base with extreme precision, but Iran had given the United States advance notice that that base was going to be struck. The United States was able to put its people into bunkers, and Iran ended up destroying empty buildings. But it demonstrated to the United States that it had the capacity to strike any American base in the region with extreme precision and kill as many Americans as they wanted, if they wanted to do that. And America was deterred against future action of that sort. Will Israel be deterred? Again, the Israelis are waking up today, looking at the damage done, understanding that there isn't a place in Israel today that's safe from Iranian ballistic missile attack. That means that Israel understands that any escalation could mean the destruction of Israel. Israel probably isn't going to launch a response against Iran. Israel has been deterred from launching that response by the Iranian actions. And in this case, we could say that Operation True Promise was an extraordinarily successful operation, not only for Iran, but indeed for the world, because Iranian deterrence now is a reality that can hold Israel and the United States in check.